Shabbat Shalom. Our Torah portion on this Shabbat is Parshat Vayera. But before I get to Vayera, I look back also to Parshat Lech Lecha, to last week's Torah portion, where Abraham goes forth. Because as Abraham goes forth, there is one thing that is on his mind. Well, there's a bunch of stuff on his mind, but one of them keeps coming back again and again in some really pretty amazing ways. And it's embedded right there in Lech Lecha ma'artzecha mimoladacha umibeit avicha. Abraham and Sarah go forth from your land, from your father's house to the place I'm going to show you. And all of those who bless you, I will bless, and all of those who curse you, I will curse. And your descendants will be as many as the stars in the sky and the sands upon the beaches. Which sounds great, right? Except what does Abraham lack through all of Parshat Lech Lecha? Progeny. He doesn't have any children. And this is something that comes back in the discussions, the arguments, and all of the action, right? To the point where even at one point he says, I don't have any children. Sarah, what do we do here? And ends up with Hagar, resulting in Ishmael. I mean, he even, right, has a nephew. Who's his nephew? Lot. And he wants to give it all to Lot. God says, no, Lot's not going to be the inheritor. Another episode, he wants to give the inheritance. He wants to be the one to take on his mantle and lead it forward. He wants it to be his servant, his advisor, Eliezer. That's not going to work. And throughout Lech Lecha and into Parshat Vayera, there is this fear, concern, worry. Wait a second, God, I'm supposed to have this covenant. And I'm supposed to have this connection. You've told me to go forth. I've gone on this great journey, but I don't have anyone to pass it to. And that's really significant. That's actually been one of the chief concerns and worries of Jewish life. Right? How many of us talk about Jewish continuity? How much blessing goes into each new child? When we sit here and pass the Torah from door by door, generation to generation, we name our children after our grandparents so that we make sure that that is getting passed down generation to generation. It is not simply just Abraham. It is something built into our DNA, worrying what's going to happen. How do we make sure, whether it is our intelligence, whether it's our genes, whether it's our ideas, our values, gets passed down to the next generation? I thought a lot about that and about watching Abraham and Sarah so wrestle and struggle with this. And then I saw something really kind of interesting, because we know at the beginning of Vayera, there is Abraham recovering from his circumcision. The angels come and visit him. And what do the angels tell them, Abraham and Sarah? That they're going to have a child. How old is Abraham? He's 99. How old Sarah? 90. Not a lot of 99-year-olds and 90-year-olds hook up, get knocked up, and have babies. Okay? Even on Shabbos. And what does Sarah do? She laughs. She cracks up. In fact, here it is. This is from Genesis. They said, where is your wife Sarah? And he said, there, she's inside the tent. And one of them, these are the angels, said, I'll return to you next year, and your wife Sarah shall have a son. Sarah was listening at the entrance of the tent, which was behind him, and Abraham and Sarah were old, advanced in years. Sarah had stopped having the periods of women, and she laughed to herself, saying, now that I'm withered, I'm to have enjoyment with my husband so old. Notice she didn't say I'm going to get pregnant. She said, we're going to have fun together. And then the Lord said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I in truth bear a child? That's not what she said, God. But is there anything too wondrous for the eternal one? And I will return, and Sarah shall have a son. And then Sarah was kind of freaked out because she laughed at God. She said, I didn't laugh. She was frightened, but God said, yes, you did laugh. Right? Really, really amazing, incredible dialogue and discussion. And Sarah's response, and while I heard it loudest over here, laughed. Right? She laughs. This is chutzpahdik. This is crazy. This is incredible. At 99 and 90, she's going to have a kid? It's pretty fantastic. There's chuckling going on over here, right? A little bit later, what do you know? Sarah gets pregnant. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born, and Sarah said, thinking about what Isaac is named for a second, God brought me laughter, and everyone who hears will laugh with me. Isaac means laughter. I thought about that. I thought about how incredible it is that Isaac means laughter. Abraham has been so worried about the next generation, about what's going to get passed on, about what his legacy was going to be. And here he gets his legacy, and it's all tied up in one of the most important Jewish values: laughter. That was so simple and yet so profound. What an incredible Jewish value. The one thing that we have given to the world in such incredible ways and in so many different voices, in so many different jokes, in so many different stories, is laughter. Abraham and Sarah, they laugh at themselves. I mean, that's part of what Sarah is doing, right? She's laughing at herself. She's laughing at the situation. She's laughing at God, because that's okay too. What an amazing legacy. I'm not going to give you a long lecture about Jews and humor. There are plenty of books. There are plenty of movies. There's even one called Old Jews Telling Jokes. You can listen to the recording of You Don't Have to Be Jewish. There are plenty of people that have done plenty of scholarships about Jews and humor. All I want to do tonight is to remind you of how worried Abraham was. And when his future came forth, what was it filled with? Laughter. Because as we move through the world, one of our highest Jewish values, not just Shabbat, not just all of our food, not music, not our acts of study, laughter is so valuable and so important. I hope that you, me, all of us, will find those moments, because we have chances and opportunities to laugh with joy and humor. How many of you have had a belly-splitting laugh lately? There's also the incredible response where you laugh instead of crying. How many times have I gotten calls from somebody who had broken the hip one month, and they got out of bed, and they were, because of the broken hip, and ended up falling and then breaking their arm. And the two of us, all we could do was sit there and just laugh, because otherwise we were going to cry of how, in God's name, does this happen to us? And there were a lot of jokes about bubble wrap in that moment. Laughter is an incredible legacy. It's an incredible thing that was an inheritance that has been passed to us. Think of the Borscht Belt, Yiddish theater, Mel Brooks. I was teaching on Tuesday to the community in Bethel Boca, and I just said the word Inquisition and started to sing the Inquisition. And everyone started to crack up. Bring in the nuns. There is a lot that we have to pass on to the world. There are lots of values, all of the genes that we want to pass on. But what is valuable and important that we have, that we can bring into this world, is our laughter, is our response to the world that makes us laugh and open up, whether it is laughter in joy or laughter in place of tears, if it's trying to turn our sadness into joy, or in our joy that is turning to sadness, also just relieving that stress with laughter. Let all of us, thinking about Abraham and Sarah and God in that moment, as Abraham hears this and Sarah hears this and Sarah laughs and God laughs too. Let us look for all kinds of ways to teach and model ways to laugh. Think of ways to show how to laugh. Think of when we can laugh and just exult in every opportunity. Excuse me. Exult in every opportunity to bring the sound of laughter into our world. Let us, like Abraham and Sarah, welcoming Isaac into the world with all of that laughter, let us laugh this Shabbat and beyond. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.